Hello and welcome to Over My Dead Body, Special Education Edition. I'm Joseph Reddy. Today we will be discussing the controversial topic that impacts students, teachers, and parents all over the country, special education. Whether you are pro-special ed, against it, use its services, or don't really know anything about it, I encourage you to sit, watch, and learn about what really makes special education special. Throughout the show, we will be interviewing teachers and students who have all dealt with special education. But to begin our show, Mrs. Melissa Yoder, Guidance Counselor at Berks Career and Technology Center, and Ms. Stacy Schaefer, Instructional Assistant at Berks Career and Technology Center, have joined us. Thank you both for joining us today. Now, Mrs. Yoder, tell me, why do you think it is important for students who have special education needs to be accommodated within the schools?
I feel as though it's very important because those students have challenges that not every student has. So to be able to support them and encourage them to learn it and have that in place is very good for their self-esteem and their education.
What assistance does the Berks Career and Technology Center and other homeschools offer students who have special education needs?
Here at BCTC, we have special education facilitators to facilitate and be the liaison with the districts for our students. We also have school counselors in the building to assist students. They have instructional assistants assigned to them in their programs, and we have the Learning Resource Center available for them to get one-on-one assistance and provide other accommodations if they need a test read or if they need some extended time.
All right, now, Ms. Schaefer, you've had the opportunity to work with students day in and day out. What is it like to work with all those kids?
My role at the Career Center is very rewarding and exciting. No 2 days are ever the same at the Career Center, and the students keep me informed and up to date with what's happening.
All right, now, what kind of assistance do you provide these kids?
I provide assistance to students such as homework assistance, one-on-one tutoring, senior project assistance, and shop-related tasks.
Now, are there any reasons why a student wouldn't accept getting special education services?
Yes, there are. Some of the students have a difficult time self-advocating for themselves, and some just do not know that there are supports in place, such as the LRC that's here at the Career Center.
All right, thank you both of you for your comments, and I'm sure that gives us all something to think about, and we'll be back to you in a few minutes. The No Child Left Behind has had a dramatic impact on special education. The No Child Left Behind Act expects all students to be at the proficient or advanced level. However, this isn't a reasonable accomplishment to make. Kids who are in special education can't always read or read well enough to get to that level. For some, getting to the proficient and advanced level is impossible. This is discouraging to many students, and it also holds them back in school. Let's see what a local teacher thinks about No Child Left Behind and talk with a student to see how special education has impacted them.
I have been working as a special education teacher for 29 years. I started my career in the Reading School District, and I am now working at the Brandywine Heights Middle School. I have worked with a multitude of different types of special ed students. I have worked with learning support, emotional support, speech and language support, and life skills support. I think some of the challenges I have encountered, not only with special education students, but with all students, is to get students to realize that in this changing world, in this changing environment, that what you do today could affect you for the rest of your life. What you post on Facebook can affect you 5 years down the road when you're applying for a job. What you put on the internet can affect you as you're filling out your college forms. Kids need to realize that the way they act, what they say, what they write, what they do will affect them whether they believe it or not. They have to live their lives as if each day is important and to grow into what they're going to be and what they're going to be as adults starting now. Some of the obstacles as a special education teacher, as well as educators throughout Pennsylvania and the United States, is education is being run by the federal government and by the state government and by school boards who have no clue what it's really like to be in a classroom and to be working with kids of all kinds of needs and all kinds of environments and all kinds of backgrounds. They think they can sit in their offices and in their boardrooms and tell teachers exactly what they think. And it looks good on paper, but in practice, it just doesn't work in the classroom. They need to get off their dupas and get into the classrooms and see what actually goes on. And not just pick and choose the classrooms that they think are working really well under their government, but classrooms that are actually working in inner cities, in rural areas, and in urban areas throughout the United States. I think No Child Left Behind has not worked. I think No Child Left Behind is one of those laws that really looks good on paper, and it was brought by people who did not know what happens in education. It sounds really good that no child will be left behind, that all children will be taught, and all children will read at the same level and the math level and do math at the same level. But in practice, that just doesn't work. It didn't work in Texas, it's not working in Pennsylvania, and it's not working in the United States. States should opt out of No Child Left Behind. No Child Left Behind puts kids in a little egg carton. We're all the same. All little white little eggs sitting there in our little egg cartons. But life isn't like that. We're more like an Easter basket. We're a multitude of colors. Some of us are hard cooked, soft cooked. Some of us are burnt. Some of us are raw. And it's up to the teachers to take those talents and take those eggs and turn them into what those kids can possibly be. And not all kids are the same, not all kids should be taught the same, and not all kids have the same skills. So No Child Left Behind teaches to one standard, and those standards are not what's best for education, and it's not what's best for the United States, because we're going to have little modes of children who do not have creativity and who cannot function on their own because they're taught to one standard and not to a multitude of teaching styles and different standards. If I had a magic wand, I would make special education students feel that they are important and they know that they're important. No matter what their skills are, they have to prepare for an education, whether it's an education going to college or an education in a technical field or an education in a business or a company or manufacturing. It's important that they get an education. And I would wave that wand over them and say, learn, 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 read, 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 because what you're doing now is going to affect you, and someday you will have to have a job, and you need to prepare for that job, and you need to prepare for that job now.
My experience with special education helped me by passing each grade because I work at a slower level than everyone else. So the teachers really help you by moving along and trying to understand each thing. If I wouldn't be able to get help through special education, I would probably have gotten held back. I would need tutoring to help me move along in class. I'd lose most of my friends, and I'd probably be struggling a lot. Being labeled as a special education student is hard because you get told that you're slow, you're dumb, or you can't do this because you're in special education. Modifications on my special education had really impacted me because you would get only 3 answers on a test instead of 4. They would hand you notes so you don't have to write them if you miss them. When you get at least like 2 more days for a test instead of 1 day. So I'd say it really helped me because I can take more time on my test, I can really think about it, and I can actually learn more out of it. I feel like I'm getting the same education as others because I learn the same things but at slower pace, or when someone has 50 problems in math but only have 12, but we're learning the same but we just get less amount of work and more help with it. If I could change something about special education, I'd probably change on getting homework because I don't get homework. I would probably say get it because I think you would benefit it more.
After hearing what Ms. Talenko has to say, Tell me, Mrs. Yoder, since 26 states have already opted out of the No Child Left Behind Act, do you see this as a good thing, and do you think PA will follow in those footsteps?
I see it as a potentially good thing, depending on where Pennsylvania takes it. They might put something in place that's even more challenging. It totally depends on the state and what they choose to replace it with. I would hope that for all students, it would be a better situation if they do actually take it in their own hands.
Now, if PA does opt out of the No Child Left Behind Act, would you expect that some of the education requirements would change, especially in special education?
I do. I hope the emphasis on high-stakes testing is reduced for students, maybe looking at more of a grading scale, possibly a statewide grading scale, to pick up some of the pieces for those students like myself that are better as doing studying and homework and the grading than actually one test that takes all.
All right, well, thank you for that. It looks like we are out of time for today, so before we go, I'd like to thank Mrs. Yoder and Ms. Schaefer for joining us, and please join us next time on Over My Dead Body.